My brand new course, Photography for Beginners, Sunrise in Mexico, will teach you exactly how to get out at sunrise and come back with photos you love, all told in plain English. It includes real footage of me photographing an actual sunrise in Mexico with an entry-level camera. Find out more at rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses. Brand new camera, half-charged battery, clock set to 2020. Let's sort that out before you miss a single shot. You've got a new camera. I know exactly how that feels. The excitement is real and the urge to grab it, point it at something and start shooting, it's irresistible, isn't it? But here's the thing. Most cameras come out of the box in a state that will cause you problems at exactly the moment you most want to take photos. It's not because anything's wrong with them, but because there are a handful of things that need to be sorted out before you take a single shot. 7 things to be precise, and they take about 20 minutes in total, that's all. And once you've done them, you're properly set up and ready to go. This is that episode, let's get into it. Hi and welcome to episode 230, blimey, of the Photography Explained podcast. This episode is titled, Shiny New Camera, Calm Down and Do This First. Yes, really. A very good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening to you, wherever you are in the world, and whatever time of day you find yourself listening to my splendid podcast. I'm your host, Rick. Hi. And in each episode, I try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish without the irrelevant details. Yes, really. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience which I share with you in my splendid podcast. Right, let's get into this. 20 minutes, 7 things, let's get your camera properly set up from the start. Some of these feel obvious once you know them. Most people skip at least 3 of them, and then they wonder why the first proper shoot ends with a flat battery, a full memory card, or photos they can't find 6 months later. So let's go through them one by one. Tip 1. Charge the battery before you do anything else. Yes, this sounds obvious. It is obvious. The battery that came with your camera, it could be fully charged. It could be flat. Let's not forget it's been sitting in a box somewhere, probably for months. So it's probably not ready for a full day of shooting, like you. Not yet anyway. Charge it fully first. This can take a few hours, but do this first and then do everything else in this episode. Unfortunately, you can't do the other things while it charges. But you can do this. You can order a spare battery. A second battery is one of the best investments you'll make. I only use the camera manufacturer's own batteries, but I get that they're more expensive. So you might have to go down the third-party battery route just to save a bit of money, completely understandable. Just make sure you're buying your batteries from a safe, reputable supplier. Be careful. The last thing we want is something bad happening to a battery in your camera that could be, well, it could be terminal for the camera. Not good, is it? No, seriously, 1 battery is never enough. 2 batteries mean you can always be shooting while the other one charges. And you've got a backup in case something goes wrong. If you've got no battery, you've got no camera, have you? So it makes sense, doesn't it? Tip 2. Format the memory card in the camera, not on your computer. When you get a new memory card, or indeed you're using a memory card that, I don't know, could have been used in another camera or for some other reason, make sure you format it in the camera you're going to use it in. Don't do this on your computer, don't delete the files, just format it in the camera that you're going to use it in. In your camera's menu, there will be a format or format memory card option. Find it and use it, and I'm going to tell you why. Formatting inside the camera sets the card up in exactly the way your specific camera needs. It creates the correct file structure. It removes any leftover data from other devices. It significantly reduces the risk of card errors and corrupted files. The whole thing takes about 10 seconds, probably less than that. And it's the right way to start with any card in any camera, any time, not just with a new camera, not just with a new memory card. Tip 3, set the date and time. You'll thank yourself later, you really will. Yep, it's also in the menus, I know, bear with me. Every photo you take is stamped with the date and time it was taken, plus a lot of other stuff. Now, you might be surprised how much other stuff your camera captures when it takes a photo. It's quite staggering these days. This information lives inside the image file. It's called EXIF data, EXIF. Now, what does EXIF stand for? No idea, and quite frankly, I don't care. That's not important, but this is important. When you're looking for a specific photo 6 months from now, or 3 years from now, or 10 years from now, you get the idea, don't you? That date stamp is one of the ways that you can find a photo. If a camera thinks that it's January the 1st, 2020, because that's what it's been told the date is, this will create a catalogue of confusion when you try to organise your photos later. This takes 2 minutes tops. Set the date and time correctly. And while you're doing it, wait for the minute to tick over to the next one. Then you press the enter button or whatever button it is. So you've got it absolutely bang on. Why not get this right now and get it as right as you can do? So you're in the menus anyway, formatting your memory card from tip 3, aren't you? So it doesn't take long to find out where setting the date and time is. And it's done then. And there's one thing I want to add here. When you go on holiday, if the time zone's changed, change the time on your camera when you get there. If your camera hasn't got an internet connection like mine hasn't, it won't know you're on holiday. It won't know where you are. You will have to tell it what the time is where you've landed. I often forget to do this, such as on my recent trip to Mexico where I forgot to do this. And with a 5-hour time difference, it was telling me that my photos were taken at noon. Which can't be wrong, can it, when the sun rises at 7 in the morning? Thankfully, you can change it in Lightroom. But if you do forget to change the time when you go into a different time zone and you take a load of photos, I suggest you stay with the time that you have and you correct them all later when you get back home. That's what I do. Obviously, setting the time for where you're going is a good plan. Tip 4, set the image format to RAW and JPEG. Options are good. Your camera will offer you a choice between saving images as JPEG files or RAW files, or both. RAW files contain more data, they give you more flexibility when editing, and are generally the professional's choice. They are also large files that need specialist software to open them. JPEG files, on the other hand, are processed in camera. They're manageable in size, they open in anything and are ready to share or use immediately. So why wouldn't you use JPEG? Why not, Rick? Well, this is why. Choose both. If you're new to editing photos on your computer, work on the JPEG files because they've got an amount of processing done, so you've got a good starting point. But keep the RAW files for when you're ready to work with them. But if you're comfortable working with RAW files, just go straight to RAW. I never shoot in JPEG, I only ever shoot in RAW. For RAW files, you'll need specialist editing software, but editing is very similar. You've just got more work to do with the RAW file, but you have more data to work with. When I say you got more work to do, a RAW file looks flat, dull, lifeless, lacking in contrast when you import it from the camera. This is because no processing has been done to the RAW file other than creating the photo. So that's the difference, but you've got more to work with. So yeah, the JPEG file does look better straight out of camera, but that's because the camera has already done some processing to it when it captured the photo. So start with JPEG. This keeps things simple while you're getting started and building confidence with the camera and processing. But RAW is a genuinely excellent next step when you're ready for it, and I will cover this in a future episode. JPEG is the right starting point for beginners, but having those lovely RAW files there for later is a win-win. I think that's the first time I've used win-win in the podcast. Tip 5, set image quality to the highest setting your camera offers. Within JPEG, your camera will offer you different quality levels. They're often labelled fine, normal and basic, or shown as approximate file sizes in megabytes. Always pick the highest quality setting. Same applies with RAW. Yes, the files will be bigger. Yes, your memory cards will fill up a little faster. But a 64GB memory card, for argument's sake, it can hold hundreds, if not thousands, of high-quality images, and the cost of a card it's nothing compared to the cost of the camera. Starting on a lower quality setting to save storage, it's false economy. I recommend you always use the highest quality your camera offers, and don't think about it again. Set it and forget it. I've only ever used the highest quality. I started with JPEG, but quite quickly I moved on to RAW. And I don't know why I'd ever do anything other than that. I don't know why. So, highest quality you can get, always. Right, let's move on, Rick. Tip 6. Spend 10 minutes with the first chapter of the manual or the quick start guide. Just 10 minutes. Yep, camera manual. How utterly boring. Bear with though, bear with. You don't need to read all of it, well, not to begin with anyway, but you do need to understand everything in it at some point. But to start with, spend 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, with the first chapter. This is the bit that shows you what everything is and where it is on your camera. It's really, really useful. You should have a quick start guide with a new camera, so do that to get you set up. Listen to the rest of this episode, obviously. But go into the manual, because once you open up the manual, you'll see what else is in there. And there'll be things there that you don't know. There'll be things about the camera settings that you will need to know at some point. But just to begin with, give it 10 minutes. Thank you. What kind of things will you find out? Where's the main control dial? Where's the shutter button? Where's the playback button? Where's the menu button? Where does the battery go? Where's the memory card slot? Knowing where these things are before you go out stops you fumbling at exactly the wrong moment. This is small but perfectly formed advice. 10 minutes with the manual, it can save you hours of confusion and frustration later. Tip 7. Put it in auto mode and go and take some photos. Yeah, you've set up the camera, put the camera in auto mode and go and take some photos. I'm not saying that auto is where you're going to stay, hopefully you won't, but building confidence and familiarity with your camera, knowing how it feels in your hands, what it sounds like when you press the shutter button, all that good stuff, how it responds, this is genuinely valuable stuff. So before you learn to control all the settings, learn to love the camera. The only way to familiarise yourself with the camera is to hold it and use it. So start off in auto. No shame in that. Get some photos, get used to it, and be inquisitive about the results that you get. Auto mode will produce good results in most situations. It's not cheating, it's a starting point, that's all it is. And taking photos you're happy with in the first weeks, it builds the enthusiasm that'll take you further, which is exactly the point. Quick recap. Charge the battery fully before your first shoot and order a spare today if you didn't order one when you bought the camera. Format the memory card inside the camera using the camera's own menu. Set the date and time correctly in the camera settings and don't forget to change it when you change time zone. Set the image format to RAW plus JPEG straight away. Set the image quality to the highest setting your camera offers. Spend 10 minutes with the first chapter of the manual, just 10. Put it in auto mode and go and take some photos, and there you have it. Okay, what if I use a phone? If you're still shooting on a phone, most of these things happen automatically in the background. Your phone charges from any USB socket, you'll know that. There's no memory card to format. Date and time sync from the mobile network. Image quality is managed by the phone software. That invisible automation is one of the main reasons phones feel so effortless. The camera puts these decisions in your hands though, and that is actually part of what makes it more capable once the setup has been done. If you're thinking about making the move from phone to camera, this episode gives you a clear picture of what the first steps involve. It's not overwhelming, it's simply a different kind of device that asks you to take charge of a few things the phone handles silently. Do them once, then they're done, and then go out and take some photos. What do? I have a setup routine with every camera I use, including the Canon R100 I've been shooting with recently. First thing, battery on charge before I do anything else. Then format the card in the camera. Then set the date and the time if they need updating. Yes, I often forget that. After that, I set the image format to RAW. I haven't used JPEG in decades. And before I pack my camera bag, I clean it and make sure everything's working as it should be. And then, before I take a photo, I take a few test shots to make sure everything's working as it should be again. Take seconds to check your camera's working, so it's well worth doing. The whole routine takes minutes, and it means that I never arrive on location with a half-charged battery or a card that hasn't been formatted. So it's worth those couple of minutes, of course it is. Right, ad-lib time here. Another error that I've made. I went to Mexico recently, just after I bought the Canon R100. So I bought a spare battery, practicing what I teach to you. So I got 2 batteries, genuine Canon batteries too. Now, I had the charger, I had the 2 batteries, but I'd forgotten the lead for the charger, so I spent a week worrying about this and trying to preserve battery life while taking photos. And it was a new camera and I didn't know how many photos I was going to get out of the 2 batteries. I went and spoke to the holiday rep, and guess what? The power lead for the TV was the same lead as that for the charger, so problem solved. Valuable lesson here: if you got a problem, ask for help. A week worrying, a week not worrying. Sorry for that digression. Here's something for you to do, dear listener. Go through those 7 steps today, right now if your camera's nearby. Set a timer for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and work through the list from top to bottom. And then go and take some photos. And let me know how you get on. You can text me directly from the podcast feed. I'd genuinely love to hear from someone that did this and went straight out with the camera for the first time. So if that's you, let me know, please. Okay, related episodes. If you just got your first camera and you want to know what to do across the whole first week, try episode 225. I just got my first camera. What do I do in the first week? Which covers everything. And if you're still deciding whether a camera is the right move for you, check out episode 228, How to Know If You're Ready to Move from Phone to Camera. That will answer that question, won't it? Well, you'd hope so. And if you want to understand what an entry-level camera can actually do before you commit, check out the last episode, episode 229, What Can an Entry-Level Camera Really Do? Okay, 3 very recent episodes there, which, they're all related, aren't they? And it's all good stuff. Next episode. Well, episode 231. Camera, check. Something to photograph, check. Now, how do you actually take the photo? Yes, we've got to the moment that really matters. Your camera's set up, you've found something to photograph. How do you actually take the photo? That's exactly what we're going to cover in the next episode, so I'll see you in 2 weeks for that one. If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe please so you don't miss future ones. And you can text me from the podcast feed. And breaking news, for the first time I believe that I can reply to texts that you send from the podcast feed. This is a new feature which I'm super excited to try out, so get in touch, even if it's only to say hi. For everything else, courses, resources, questions, my weekly email, it's all at rickmcavoyphotography.com. And you can find me on YouTube. Just put Rick McAvoy into the search and up I will pop. And if you'd like to support the podcast and get the video version of every episode, yes, you can watch me talking if you want to, then check me out on Patreon at patreon.com/RickPhoto. This episode was brought to you by a cheese and pickle sandwich. It's becoming a bit of a thing, this, which I consumed before settling into my homemade acoustically cushioned recording emporium. I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast and for giving me 27-ish minutes of your valuable time. Now, I reckon this episode's going to be about 20 minutes long after editing out the mistakes and the other bad stuff. We'll find out. Thanks for listening. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. If you want to start taking stunning sunrise photos, and why wouldn't you, check out my Photography for Beginners Sunrise in Mexico course at rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses.